a lot of false flagging, a lot of plea taking, a lot of sacrificing. Your boy, they done made, they done broke their own rules to make this nigga clean. Under their own rules, allegedly, he can't be divorced and then make the side bitch the queen that he left his lawful wife for. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all it's all crazy. Then this nigga talking about he wants to make the thing more diverse, make the coronation more diverse. Talking about he wanna allow other religious bodies or representatives of religious bodies to, make statements and shit like that. Them Freemasons looked at that nigga and said, "Are you crazy?" They looked at that Freemason. Do you not know you are the head of the Church of England, nigga? I know we trying to get the dullards and the stupid people to believe that, we're not slavers and shit like that, but you bugging. You can't put the Hindu God before our God publicly. Have you no shame? You know how they be talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't even, that's what I mean. That's how out of touch these niggas are, bro. Like, they don't even realize what's really happening, how people really see them. They just looking at it like, yo, this is just what's happening. No, no. They're running the satanic cult, and the Church of England was hijacked to be able to do their own thing outside the Catholic Church. And now here you are, we barely getting you in as king, and now you trying to big up everybody else religion. Like, you bugging. So they ixnayed that plan's name, you know? I mean, it's a farce anyway. It's the stuff you don't see that they doing about the coronation that is really the horrific stuff. There's an online allegedly AI pictures of the coronation that is on some horrible, bloody, gory shit. I'm not gonna show it, but they say, oh, this AI generated. But now I'm seeing the benefits of AI in that way for them. And now they could just be putting out real shit that look crazy and all of that, and they'd be like, oh nah, that's the AI, but it's really real. That's what I mean. Like, it's all up for grabs now. They done just made everything a farce. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, who knows? But yeah, that's what's going on with that. Anybody else? All of the children that they probably ran through during this whole procession is horrible. Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty much a wash. Not to mention that they raided. I told you these communists. Told you the black communists. For years, I was telling y'all about the Uhuru movement and how that was co-opted through Public Enemy, as well as the Dead Prez whole MP Dom situation that they was trying to pump in Brooklyn at that time, which brought a lot of those Uhuru people in, and a lot of those Uhuru niggas are turncoat communists. You know what I'm saying? They come from rich families and trust funds and shit. And then they want to bring down capitalism. They ain't never have to do nothing to actually make money. So they don't, you know what I'm saying? So they guilt themselves instead of trying to open up opportunities. So that's going down. Pras, he's about to serve about 45 years, you know what I'm saying, for being the mouthpiece for your boy Lo, Mr. Lolo from the Polo, from Japan who was laundering all of that money, trying to get close to Obama and get him to invest in the Wolf of Wall Street, and was able to get a picture. Able to get a picture with him. You know what I'm saying? And that was all, with the help of people like Pras. You know what I'm saying? He was able to broker that and get that picture for him, which I bet that they was just laughing out loud at the Chinese high command once they got that. They like, oh, these niggas whole shit is over. Look how close we got this nigga to all we had. And look, we used a Fuji. We used the ex Fuji nigga to get this nigga in the honey pot. But out of everybody that's mentioned and locked down, now some people went to jail, but the person that looked like he's facing the most time is this nigga Pras. They use Pras. The Chinese niggas use Pras to get into the White House and all of that. And they use Wyclef allegedly to get into Haiti. You see what's happening now? Do you realize Haiti right now, the majority of Haitians right now in Haiti, the country is basically at a standstill because of a nigga named Barbecue. Oh shit. A dude named Barbecue got the country by the short hairs. You hear what I'm telling you? Look up Barbecue. Look at how Barbecue is barbecuing their ass right now. Hey, they don't know what to do about Barbecue. And this is what I'm saying. This is how out of control the situation globally has become. How much of a joke all of this stuff really is, bro. It's over. You know what I'm saying? Barbecue is got the country, like I said, by the short hairs. They can't do nothing. They don't know what to do. They can't send special forces in. They can't do. So they now trying to get the people to actually vote and try to vote in another army to come in and take control of this shit. Meanwhile, the Dominican Republic is one of the biggest hotbed for organ harvesting and kidnapping of foreign nationals by way of that Haiti pipeline. We don't think that that's somehow connected. It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? They want that iridium. They can't. That iridium in that mountain is basically vibranium. So they basically need it. So whatever demon portal they're trying to open, you know what I'm saying? They need all of that. So this is what's happening. The whole show is coming apart. So remember, I told y'all that there's like 33 levels above the president, and the secret president is the real president. That when they talk about the president meeting with uh, foreign officials, like foreign officials is different than international officials. You know what I'm saying? Like international officials, they probably talking about niggas that's coming from beyond the ice walls and shit that they got to still deal with to try to pilfer some of that technology and keep the real ones that's coming and get rid of them away from us. You understand? Like, like, Brat and Judy thing, the Yakub Brat and Judy thing. They're trying to put it in the mind that two black people can't get together because then they'll all have a baby with sickle cell or some shit. Like every black person got sickle cell, so everybody going, you know what I'm saying? But this is what they pumping. So you gotta let the weak minded go with that. But they also try to pump that these two brain dead lesbians have the fortitude to be able to. If you want to see what's happening to this baby, just look at Gina kids already, Judy kids already, her grown kids. Like it's a shame. Like it's literally horrible. But what you're watching is another form of birth control. It's another form of divestment from the actual act of creation. But the problem is, what they're not telling y'all or telling people is that 53% of all the sperm they're using is coming from white males. So when you ask, how come these black people are having all of these white babies? Because they doing EVF, they doing all this other shit, and they infusing them with the 53% white sperm. Because remember, at the same token, they birth rate is 0. So how else they gonna have pass on traits if they're not doing shit like this? Only 2.5 to 3% of so-called black males actually give their seed to sperm banks. So there is a deficiency in so-called black male sperm that produces black males and females, right? There is less of it out there. So when you see these people going through these processes and they come out with these white babies, this is why this is happening, because there's no so-called real black sperm for them to be able to pull from. Because black men don't give up their sperm like that. They either purposely do it, which they have to really love the person, or they get tricked out of it, right? Right? They get, right? They get set up, right? Shit like that. With Drake, you gotta throw hot sauce in the condom and shit like that. Like this, the type of shit black men gotta go through. But at the same time, remember now, at the same time though, so this makes so-called black sperm the most. This what we want. But at the same time, they telling you that black men ain't shit. You see the you see this you see what I'm saying? See the problem with the situation? But if black men wasn't shit, then they would be the first ones giving up cups of themselves to do that. But they not doing it. Now also you also have to remember that because of the overwhelming percentage of these white males that's giving up all of this sperm to these sperm banks, and then all of these desperate women now going to do that. What does that mean? That means that they're basically all pulling from the same pool. You understand what I'm saying? This is more of a potential of incest because now all of these children, there's one white man in the Dutch Republic, but this nigga, they done forbade him from giving sperm because he done sired over 500 children who may in the future, because they all live in the same area and throughout the world, this ain't just he just this what he do. It's how he gets money. To the point now where it's more of a chance that these children meet, fall in love, and not know, and then have children, and then what? Now this is incest now because they like 1 degree chromosome related to one another. See what I'm saying? Have you ever heard black men going and being like, "Yo, I'm a hold on to my, I want, I want to freeze my sperm or freeze my woman's eggs so we could do." Like men don't do that. We don't do that. So what I'm sharing all of that to say that this again is another form of population control and sterilization. You understand? From sterilization at the same time, while at the same time creating division between the natural order of creation. Because if these women, if so you do all of that, but not sleep with a man, even though you've been sleeping with men for about 40 years up until your show started. That's what I'm supposed to believe. That's how this works. So now think of, like I said, the messages that this is pumping out to the independent black females who are easily manipulated. Because this shows how easily manipulated people are. Because I see grown people defending this type of shit on the internet and on different things or whatever, trying to pump it, trying to get brownie points for supporting madness. Because what we're seeing is madness. You understand? This is not real life. This is not how real mentally functioning people act. That's why they're like children. When you watch those two people in particular, they're like almost children, and they have no direction. They don't know what they want to do. The house is not like it's all of symbolic representation of the deterioration of the mind, psyche, right? An image of the so-called strong, independent black woman on herself. You're watching the implosion of two people on themselves. They can't even decide how many dogs to have. Like, so if this is now the example, these are the examples, people like this, people like Scarlett. You understand how far we've fallen with females who call themselves Scarlet? Like, what? It's a dope name now. Don't get me wrong. Love the name. But when I look at it, I'm like, I liked it better when DMX was doing it. It was more spiritual, you dig? But again, that's the level that they want. That's the type of female that they want. That's the type of rapper that they want. That's the type of woman that they want. And so to combat that, the only people who can stop this assault, this obvious assault on women, is actually women, because not present company excluded women. I'm never talking about people with knowledge of self and who haven't participated. I'm talking about the people that have, and the fact that this, which is not the majority of people, but this is what is put towards the majority to make us believe that this is the psyche of people, and it's really not. It's just what they want the psyche to be. But there's a visceral reaction now to this type of shit. Look what happened to Bud Light. Look what happened to Bud Light. Who was even thinking about Bud Light? Now look, you know what happened when people see you drink Bud Light right now? Pick up a Bud Light and see what somebody do. People look at you like, oh, you want to know. You can't even look at that shit in the eye no more. You just gotta just walk past with looking straight, like go right to the cause, go right whatever it is you drink. You can't even. They can't even give it away. People can't even give it away anymore. People not even accepting it as for free. For free. Bums is not drinking this shit. What? You understand? When alcoholics is like, nah. Alcoholics is like, nah, nah. And not just Bud Light, all of it. They anything Anheuser-Busch, it's a wrap. So people think it's sweet. These corporations think it's sweet because what you have to understand, they are tailor making laws and all of this to what they perceive and what they have coined as the future audience, right? The Hollywood people call it the future audience. The government people says future generations. You see what I'm saying? The music people say for the legacy of. You see, so they are marketing things to an audience that doesn't exist, but they think will exist if they keep doing this. You understand? So what you're dealing with corporations, what we have to understand is that we're dealing with a group that is trying to socially engineer people while at the same time asking the people to give them money. You dig what I'm saying? It's the first time in history it's ever come to something like this, where they're actively trying to shame you for not liking the things that they like or that they want you to accept, even though they know that it's subpar and it's crap. You understand? Remember I was talking about the ESG and all of that, right? Remember I was saying all that? Remember how we went into that? And then right after that, the collapse of FTX happened and all of these other things started falling, right? Talk about it, right? These types of classes. So look, remember I told you it was a scam. It was a commie scam that they was trying to set up and get people to be a part of and get corporations to co-sign so that way they could dictate through segregation and methods of political and ideological disassociation, control the very market that they themselves were already manipulating, right? But now could do it under the guise of inclusion and allowing so-called minorities. So you know what they did? They created a structure that was no longer based on meritocracy. It was based upon quota, right? And it was based upon the equitable exchange of ideas instead of equality across the board. And so what that did was it established the useful idiots that allow people with no talent, with no real experience to have jobs almost created for them overnight that went under the title of special inclusion officer or diversity czar or special ideological counsel to corporate variable, like shit that didn't even exist, right? Shit that don't exist. And this is across the board. Entertainment, this is in banking, this is in politics, this the whole generations of children who were heavily radicalized, maybe right when Obama was leaving office. From that point on, you had those professors that were coming in were now the remnants, right, of this corporate friendly intelligence banking, we're all cool, through Silicon Valley shit, and we all get together at, Weinstein Island and Epstein Island and shit. They all filtered into modern academia, the colleges, and these commie bastards started pumping all of this commie shit through the lens of trans rights, and you see what I'm saying, which was filtered through gay rights, which was filtered through feminine, women's rights, which was filtered through abortion rights. You see what I'm saying? All instigated by subversion, communist, radical feminists like Ginsburg and these types of people who wanted to create ways where they could get the state to have more access to the government and have the people worship that through entertainment and then use that. Because that's the one thing that brought us all together. It didn't matter whether he was Italian or black or whatever. When you seen Rocky, you rooted for Rocky. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter if you were Asian or black or white or whatever. When you seen Bruce Lee, you like Bruce Lee. So you understand what I'm saying? So they need to get rid of that because there's too much freedom in that. You have too much diversity. So in that, if you control the diversity and fill it with a bunch of useless people that are not really skilled in how to control the field that they're in, then when it fails, you could always say, see, well, look, we brought the niggas in, we brought the women in, we brought the gays in, we brought the trans in, and they messed everything up. But they didn't bring the best of the trans, the best of the gays, the best of the women, the best of the blacks. They brought the least. You understand? The niggas with the least experience is the people who get the job. People who, you understand that you have people in Wall Street who were rocket scientists. You have who were in Wall Street now because they couldn't make money in NASA building rockets and shit. So they decided to apply that same engineering structure to derivative packages. And what do we get from that? Subprime loan, inflation, recession. You see what I'm saying? Same thing. At one point, when they all left, who took the place of the rocket scientists? You know who took the place of the rocket scientists as NASA? You never guess. You would never guess. When they all left and you went up into the silicone bubble and all that shit, you know who took over? You know who went into NASA? It was making all the money for them? Yes, anybody in class, yes. You said teenagers. Basically, but no. No, you know who took over? Plumbers. The plumbers, nigga. The plumbers blew up the industry. And after that, plumbers were sought all over the world now. This has all been going on in the past like 10, 15 years. Nobody just been talking about this shit. But the plumbers, they started making killing in NASA. And then from those referrals, they was now, Because people who didn't even need plumbers was looking at it like, well, the plumbers must be doing something. So, yo, let's go hire some of these plumbers and put them in, you know, uh, uh, research and development. Like, this is how it works. We think corporate structure is structured. It's not. It's a culture. It's a corporate culture that can be co-opted like anything else. And once there was like Iver, the nigga who's running Disney, he wanted to be president. Look, the reason why everything sucks at Disney right now is because of this nigga. This nigga wanted to be president one day. So he decided he needed to establish a legacy. So he needed something that was his, even though everything that he brought to Disney is shit that already existed, that people already liked, that he bought. So he needed to find his way to do it. So he got Kathy, who was the whack chick who got the coffee for everybody in Lucasfilm, and promised her that she could run the shit. and so long as they was going to go along with the ESG shit. And the rest is history. See what I'm saying? All of this was because Kathy got tired of being shitted on. Because when you look at early interviews with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, and they talk about her as if she was a total incompetent. She was totally inept. What she did. She cut people off, and it's like this. And these are the people. When they said that they needed more women in business and shit, these are the women, the type of women that they wanted. Because, like I said, he's looking at it long term. I'm going to be president one day. I want to be Democrat. Democrats are into trans, gay shit, ESG shit. So I need that under my belt. So this way I can say, look at how I diversified Mickey Mouse and the rest of the shit. This is how these people think. We, on the outside, as regular people, are looking at it from the perspective of like, oh, this is just messed up. They messing up everything. It's not even that deep. These people are degenerates anyway. They don't know anything good anyway. They only know it's good because you say it's good. Once you say it's good, then they need to buy it and then change it and make it bad. So that way, when it all goes south, right, the next guy who comes in can be looked at as the hero that brought it all back. You see? It's all done because they can't create anything. Everything contractually, everything good that you like is basically reverting back to the rights of the original creators anyway. You see? So the subpar, radicalized, feminized, Kool-Aid hair, trans activists, feminists who don't like women, these are the people who were running all of the major aspects of corporation, whether it's whatever sector it's in. Look at the drag queen they just hired to advertise for the Navy. This is all for ESG money. This is all from BlackRock. But guess what? BlackRock is collapsing because they don't have enough money to maintain the losses of all the investments that they're putting money into based upon all the money that these companies are losing from the investment into the ESG first. So it destroys the jobs, it destroys, you see, it just creates an ever-ending cycle of bullshit. And all of this is based on a form of municipal Darwinism and corporate apathy. Because they can't admit that they're wrong. So they got to just keep throwing money at it. That's like Ukraine. What's happening in Ukraine has nothing. There's no money. It's not a war. That's a money pit. That's the United States making Russia have to throw money into the shit. That's all they're doing. They're giving them weapons, but they're not giving them enough weapons to win. So that should tell you. Right there. Right there. This is only good to a point. You understand? Because this is not really a war. This is an insurgency because the place is all Russia anyway. It was all Russia anyway. And it had been all Russia since Russia was the one that helped destroy Tartary. So all the shit that's happening in Russia is really karmic, if you want to look at it. Karma for all the shit they did to Tara. You know? Yes, same thing as Sudan right now. Same thing. It's the same people doing the same shit. Because all of the governments are complicit in this shit. The only governments that's not complicit are the ones with sanctions. So Uganda's not down with it. So we gotta sanction them. You understand? So with all of that, what I just said, where FTX fell, remember, they were the highest donors to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party put all of that money behind all of that FTX, and the FTX shit put all that money into the NFTs and all of the celebrities that helped did that, which led to the biggest Ponzi scheme on the planet. That every celebrity is basically down. So by no means do not misinterpret what I'm saying. It was a scam. Okay? All of it is a scam. And they all are down with it. They're all indicted. Jamie Foxx was mentioned by Leonardo DiCaprio as one of the people that took the money from this nigga low. Bought him a car, Ferrari, or some shit. Okay? The same people who were backing Enron, remember them? Is the same people was backing this. Because these people never go away. Because when they say corporate culture, it's a real culture. In every culture, you have priests. The best example of what I'm talking about is the show Succession. Other than that, I would say back in the days, it was Dynasty. Because they actually showed you some low-key shit that was going on back then. That's happening now. So FDX was a cutout. A cutout is somebody that the intelligence agency used to be able to funnel money and shit. Okay? He was the highest financial donor to BlackRock for ESG funded initiatives. Nobody gave more to ESG than this nigga. And they used that money in BlackRock to bail out all of the companies that are hemorrhaging money. You understand? Which is why they had to take some of that money and funnel it to the Democratic Party to put in legislation to shut shit down, where they literally had FBI niggas sitting in Twitter, paying Twitter. That's against the law. All of these niggas should be locked up. Why aren't they? Higher score on leadership and governance than ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil has a higher ESG score than Elon Musk, and he make electric cars and they make oil. China got a higher ESG score than the United States and any other country based upon their level of carbon emissions. But carbon emissions don't mean what we think. Carbon emissions mean how many dead people that they are willing to methanize, right, to save the planet. So in that way, China is leading. Look at this nigga's name. His name is not even real. His name is Bankman Fried or Fry. That's not even a real name. Mr. Bankman Fried, another FTX executive and outside attorney, True Value Lab, says FTX was an overrated laggard score. ESG has been perverted beyond recognition. Mr. Bankman Fried confessed in an interview this week with Vox, in which he also acknowledged that the advocacy for strong crypto regulations, he was the one pushing it. The crook. He said he feels bad for those who get harmed by this dumb game we woke Westerners play, where we say all the right shibboleths. See, he using Kabbalah language on niggas, the right shibboleths, and so everyone is like us. Ah, yes, the poor saps who invest in companies because they claim to be sustainable. See, because they know that these dumb, radicalized, stupid, PhD level, disenfranchised, affirmative action blacks and passing whites, right? These niggas know that they are so needing to stand for something because they've been fed that this country is just so evil for them that they need to be fed with something so much. You understand? That they need to be activists for something. So they weren't like us. They not like us. They not willing to go out though and really do the shit. See, when we was going out and doing shit, even the most disenfranchised knew, okay, they coming this way, we gonna go this way. We wasn't physically antagonizing them until they did something to one of us. These people are purposely going out there starting shit and then getting mad when they come back to them. That's totally different. And then claim the victim. They're crazy. And so they know that these people like to invest or use their money to buy shit from companies based upon that. So they don't want to buy shit from Chicken of the Sea because you know what they do to the dolphins. So we're gonna put trans dolphins on the shit. So we're gonna appeal to them to make them think we're not still killing the dolphins and eating them. It's a scam. So because it's been a proven scam in court, any companies that's still doing it now can be sued. They're trying to keep that quiet. You understand? Because they know. The other thing that's happening right now is that people are starting to really wake up to trust and stuff like that. When it comes to these trusts and stuff, the actual statute, there's actually a real statute that, well, not statute, there's actually a law. It was an act and it was a statute that was an act and became a law that says you have the right to turn shit over to your trust. That law is called the Saint Germain Depository Institutions Act of 1982. It's called the Saint Germain Depository Institutions Act of 1982, which was funny because we was watching Succession and there was a point where they was going back and forth about what was going to happen when the company if this nigga died. And they said, well, what happens if, you know, it happens this, whatever. He said, are we germane? Like, what? He said, yeah, are we germane? He's like, yeah, we definitely say germane. This is what I'm talking about. They're talking right to niggas about what this shit is, but unless you plugged in, they not talking, letting you know that they saying because this nigga done died with all of this debt, they gonna flip all this shit into the trust, and under the Depository Act, they can't tax it and can't get it out. But it's only applicable to like real property, not like commercial. For commercial property, you'd have to have a holding company, which could be owned by the trust. See what I'm saying? And then you put it into that in terms of the business, which is what I'm showing you on the screen, which is what all of this stuff that we're seeing on the screen went into. Like all of the ancient estates that were going down was based upon what was happening in terms of the depository trust and those was being taken out. See, they could say, oh, y'all not Moors, y'all not this, y'all not that. But what you gotta understand is that in the time frame that they're talking about that this so-called slave trade thing happened, if we're going by their story, how they went through it, right? That time period, when it comes to the waterways, the throughways on the Ethiopic Ocean, which today is called the Atlantic Ocean, that was all under the jurisdiction of the Moroccan Empire that stretched from northwest, southwest Africa. So everything west of Mali, all the way to Alaska, all the way up to Alaska, all the way, all the way up to Florida, all the way down to Alaska. Everything west, all the way, or whatever, to California as well. Right? So us being those people who existed in those lands were and are seen as the descendants of those Moroccans who happen to be born in what we call the Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa. That's not hard to explain. So that don't mean that you wasn't Ananawiya. That don't mean that you wasn't, whatever. But it is to say that if you was above or a part of a certain bloodline of people, this is what they look like. And this is who they was down with. And this is who was protecting you or taking you over on the high seat. And so things like this right here, what you see here, these Nautilus cups were used to divine what they call the high seas or the seven seas, which we also refer to as the chakras. Because if one was at a certain octave, right, based upon the diaphragm, they could enter certain places that would not or did not exist on the basic Terran level that everybody else was on because things were still open spiritually. And so the disenfranchisement of us or the divestment of us from that part of ourselves open up the possibility for other things and other societies and other people to exist. You understand? And so the way to pass on or maintain legacy was now caught up in how you could pass it down both genetically and spiritually. So one way was to keep the knowledge from the children altogether and allow at least two generations to basically be more or less brain dead or dead spiritually to that aspect of themselves, just so that way they could assimilate or take time to assimilate into that. And then those who were of the bloodline or was able to keep it, the elders or whatever, they would all keep it secret and then pass it down to those of the children or of that generation that could hopefully pass it on. Think about this era that we in now. What have you written down? What have you carved in stone? What have you drawn or put somewhere that's going to exist after you that's not digital? They done took the records, they done took the CDs, they done took the VHSs, they done took the books. Society go away tomorrow, no internet. What's going to happen? You're going to have to go by what you remember. Whoever's left, which means they're going to have to go by what they was told, right? Which means they're going to have to what? Eventually write this shit down, and then the cycle start all over again. That was always the problem with globalization and everything that they was doing, because it was always a means to destabilize and take you away from the aspect of you that was real. And every reality allegedly has this time where these things get washed away, unfortunately. I didn't make this meme, but it's an example I'm talking about. Doing away from the next. This is from one of these Tataria sites on Facebook. From when I was a child, I always looked at the Grand Canyon and places like this, like those were buildings. Like those, the water couldn't make something look like that. These are people and things that got fused together based upon something happening. And being that we are so elevated or have the potential to be elevated as a species, we are tended to be relegated to the bottom because of that potential. Because we have no trust for one another. Think about that. Indian people have and create trust for their children. Jewish people create trust for their children. White European people create trust for their children. When was the last time, like when you was a child or growing up, like when somebody in the black community talked to you about that stuff? Like that's only like modern time. And I say within the last 3 years, it's become the real talk amongst so-called 85 black people. Why? So it's interesting that all of these people create generational trust for their children. They all seem to have societies and cultures that benefit from that. And the one people who don't really focus on those things are the ones that's the most disjointed or seemingly the most disjointed, at the same time the ones that's killing each other. This shows that at one point in history, beings or people had a certain genetic structure that under certain conditions allowed their skin to petrify or turn to or be perceived to turn to salt. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is somebody baked these things. Somebody, something happened and these things were destroyed. And after that time, seeming our people became public enemy number one for that type of uh, hate. Like of all of the people on earth, so-called black people are the most dejected. Yet if you ask why, they can't really say. So I was like, well, maybe it has something to do with stuff like this.
On the airport landing strip area. When it touched the ground, it created an earthquake like about a 3.5 to 4. It terrified everybody in the area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of two sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at that Air Force base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar shaped ships, they are a came out of the ships with, they were huge, huge weapons. And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquered, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That is exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at the American, at this American Air Force Base, that not only were they from a militaristic society, but they had controlled a large portion of the galaxy that we live in. And this was the statement that Ronald Reagan was making to the United Nations when he said that if all the countries on the planet realized that there was a threat from outer space and from an alien civilization, we would all come together, but he was not allowed to make this statement. What I tell you is true, and the gentleman that you had on before, tell you so.
Often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien?
So when it said cigar-like ships, I'm like, oh, I remember those. That's the ones they had in Doom. So then I'm like, okay, so if this was all in conjunction, and these things, these beings, and these people out here, they putting in work like that, I was like, okay, so this is around the time of Reagan, which is around the time of Pratt, right? And around the time when the war on drugs started, that started right after the war on drugs, and then the war on AIDS. Right? Yeah, right around then, where they was targeting all of these so-called black people. That was the era in which they did it. So maybe they was doing this to seed out any of them that was among us, or us that is them, before we woke up to realize one or the other. You understand? So then I'm like, okay, so then we're the ones who started buying cigars and splitting cigars open. Started splitting cigars open and smoking weed in, and I'm like, okay, so a lot of this is really self-preservation for them, which we know, but we're looking at it from the perspective of genocide to us. When in actuality, the Moorish or the Barbary, if you look at historically, the Moorish or Barbary Empire, way larger, and like I said, controlled way vast territory in which Europe and these things were like a part and kind of within it. And then we see old images of the destruction of excuse me, if I can find one. Yeah, but they used to have you'll find old images of flying blimps, and the blimps are shooting lasers down, and everything is like getting burnt out. And they're parts of this historical books. Like one of the books that really gets into Tartary that people talk about is a book called Apocalypse. I used to talk about it a lot back in the day. It was one of the first books I read into. And it talks about a lot of the destruction of Tartary at the hands of the Russians and what they call the Russo powers, which were really the monarchies of the day. Which, again, with the Doom, going back to the Doom thing, remember it said that they wore the tight black suits. And then they have like a Muslim culture. And why it was always appealing, as a science fiction situation. Because he based it on the Moors of the Barbary Empire, who were also at war with the royals. And what happens when royal family think about it. Like, this is melanin. The suit is basically melanin. This is basically a black man in the desert. Or the suit was basically made to mimic the black body, how it processes hydration, and how it takes ultraviolet energy and turns it into that blue spice, which is what? Which is the intake, which is the herb, basically. That represents what? The weed, right? But this is him as a character that exists after he's in exile. Prior to him being in exile, he lived as a noble amongst the Imperium, right? It's basically the monarchy, the Illuminati, the corporate class, right? But out of everybody, his father is still trying to live by the old code. So us being in exile means that we are forced to use that which is a part of us, right, to basically survive and actually take back what is supposed to be ours on a spiritual level, right? But on a physical level, we live amongst those who have given themselves up to that because they, again, have no trust, or the trust that it exists for them has laid out how they're supposed to act, which really bears no relevance to us either way. So again, the only way out is to be able to codify, put it into some sort of private context. Because, like I said, for all we know, and now they're so open with the UFO shit that they're almost prepping you to look at it the way that they want you to look at it. Case in point, in the new movie, again, we have another villain, right? Who is the High Evolutionary, which I think they should have made it look like he looked here, like in the character, instead of trying to make him look like a Yaku, like an unfinished Yaku. But I hear he's great at it, which is dope. But this is again another instance of the so-called cosmic or the anti-man, the anti-cosmic black man coming to basically manipulate everybody's genetics. You need to band together to stop him. Understand? This is the ongoing theme in the unconscious bias against the black space guard because of what I played for you earlier from that Air Force dude talking about the cigars coming with the weapons and being arrogant, right? Why? Because they were a bunch of conquerors. So the question is, what he did say, well, what did y'all tell these niggas? What did y'all tell these niggas to allow them to continue and just be out here like that? You know what I'm saying? Because see, after that, he turned it up on the so-called black community